The Wolf on the Road. Chapter 4: The Hunted. James sped down the highway, the fog in his rearview mirror slowly dissipating as he left the whispering woods behind. But even as the forest grew smaller in the distance, the feeling that something was chasing him refused to fade. His pulse still thundered in his ears, the memory of the woman's cryptic words replaying in his mind. "The curse runs deeper than you know." The truck's old diesel engine rumbled beneath him, a steady noise that usually brought comfort. It had been his constant companion through long, lonely nights on the road. A massive, black Peterbilt 389, his truck was more than just a machine to him. It had been a lifeline after the death of his wife, Evelyn. He'd thrown himself into his work, driving endless miles to escape the crushing grief of losing her. They had been together for over 20 years, and now the loneliness had fused with the truck. Evelyn had loved riding with him, her laughter filling the cab during those early years when the world still felt full of possibilities. He could almost hear her voice now, a soft whisper in the wind as he rolled the window down to clear his mind. "You're not alone, James." The memory of her words sent a chill down his spine. He tightened his grip on the wheel, his knuckles turning white. The road ahead was empty, stretching out into the night like a path to nowhere, but he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching him. Suddenly, the truck's CB radio crackled to life. Static hissed through the speaker, and then a distorted voice broke through. "You're out there, aren't you?" James frowned, leaning closer to the radio. He hadn't touched the dial, and there hadn't been any chatter on the CB for hours. He flipped through the channels, but the voice had vanished, replaced by the usual background hum. He was alone again. Just when he started to relax, the headlights of a car appeared in the distance, approaching fast. The road was narrow, barely wide enough for two vehicles, and James felt an eerie unease as the headlights grew brighter. His heart thudded against his ribs. It wasn't just the speed of the car that bothered him. It was something else, something in the air that made his skin prickle. The car, an old silver sedan, roared past him, and for a split second, James caught a glimpse of the driver. A man, with sharp, cold eyes, staring straight ahead. But that wasn't what made James's stomach lurch. It was the look of terror on the man's face, as if he was fleeing from something far worse than what James had just escaped. Instinctively, James checked his mirrors. The silver sedan had disappeared into the night, but the uneasy feeling lingered. Then, out of nowhere, a shape darted across the road in front of him, too fast to make out, but large and dark, its form barely visible in the dim light. James swerved, narrowly avoiding it, the truck lurching dangerously close to the edge of the road. His heart pounded as he pulled the truck to a stop. For a moment, everything was still. Then he saw it, a figure standing on the side of the road, just at the edge of the headlight's reach. It was too far to see clearly, but its eyes, they glowed faintly in the dark. James's pulse quickened. He could feel the weight of its gaze on him, cold and calculating. It wasn't just an animal. It was something far more dangerous, something far more aware. And it was waiting. The whispers returned, soft at first, like the wind stirring the leaves. But they grew louder, more insistent, filling his head with an unbearable noise. He slammed his hands against the steering wheel, trying to shake the feeling, but the whispers only grew stronger, wrapping around him like tendrils of fear. He had to move. Now. Throwing the truck into gear, James sped forward, the tires kicking up dust and gravel as he tore down the road. But the whispers followed him, gnawing at the edges of his mind, making it impossible to think. The figure was gone, but the sense of being hunted remained. His hands trembled as he gripped the wheel, his eyes darting between the road and the shadows at the edge of the forest. Every rustle of leaves, every gust of wind felt like it could be the creature's next move. He tried to focus, to keep his mind from spiraling, but the whispers wouldn't stop. Suddenly, a blaring horn cut through the noise. James's eyes snapped to the rearview mirror, and there it was again, the silver sedan, barreling down the road behind him, its headlights cutting through the darkness like twin beams of desperation. The car swerved wildly, its tires screeching as it tried to keep up with the truck. James's breath hitched. The driver from before, he was running from something too. And now, whatever it was gaining on both of them. James floored the accelerator, the truck roaring as it surged forward. The sedan stayed close behind, the distance between them shrinking with every second. And then, as quickly as it had appeared, the car swerved off the road, crashing into the ditch with a deafening crunch. James's heart raced, his mind torn between stopping to help the driver and the overwhelming urge to get as far away as possible. He couldn't afford to stop. Not here. Not now. But as he drove on, the fear that something was still coming for him, something ancient and relentless, crept deeper into his bones. Whatever had taken hold of him was far from over. He was being hunted. And this was only the beginning.